Digital network is what I've been informed. It's the digital network. Yeah, it sounds nice. Sounds nice.
I'm just so used. Yeah, go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
I'm just so used to hearing the Sportsnet radio network, like from hearing all the guys call that forever. So I thought that's what you're going to say. And I'm like, I don't know if that's right.
No radio, buddy. This is not radio. This is just live on YouTube. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks again to everybody that's been following along. I got to tell you, I'm pretty shocked the Leafs won this game. Like, they started off that first period and it was essentially what I expected it to be, which was they looked flat. And we led the first period with you and I texting back and forth going, I don't know what to talk about from that period other than the Canes missed the net a bunch and Dennis Malgin looks like the only Leaf for play.
Yeah. So I was feeling the same way, but I think the kudos I'm going to give today is to a guy that we've been hard on for the past couple of weeks, and that's Sheldon Keefe, because he pushed the right buttons tonight and completely changed the lines. They were stuck in mud. They were all going through the motions. They looked awful. They looked tired. And he just puts the blender out there, puts together the different lines, and they immediately respond and started playing better from that point on. Thought they had a little lull to start the third. They looked a little tired. That second goal was unbelievable, obviously. But I really want to give credit to Keefe because he pushed the right buttons tonight and they got it done.
Totally agree. It was one of the notes that I had as well, was you got to give Keefe credit tonight. Like, the lines worked. Honestly, my real synopsis of the game was just pretty simple. Is Carolina looked like a team that thought they deserved to win. And when they were in the offensive zone and they had opportunities, it felt like they were either rushing things or pucks were bobbling. And Toronto, to their credit, did the same thing that they did against the Bruins and that they sucked doing in the game against the Golden Knights and a couple of those crappy opponents, which was not just giving guys feasts on the middle of the ice. Like, they just took away the middle. They played a bit of a trap game and they decided to be the counterpunch team tonight. And it worked out well for them. Yeah, Keefe deserves credit though, because the lines weren't going, and their best shifts, other than, again, the fourth line with Malgin and our boy Kampf, those didn't really start to happen until late in the second period, midway through the second period. I'd say
right after the lines got jumbled, like immediately after the lines got jumbled.
He just, you and I talk a lot about what makes a good coach, right? It's X's and O's. It's being able to relate to your players. Usually it's a little bit overstated and overrated, but I think that one of the best things when it comes to like in-game adjustments is not just being able to recognize like a matchup deficiency, but it's having a pulse of your own group of when they need a push and when they don't. And so for Keefe to do that tonight, like that's a guy who's been behind that bench for a bunch of seasons and knows his team and decided like now was the time to push that button, and it worked. And they got a W. And now all of a sudden you've won 3 straight and you've got 2 against some of the best teams in the NHL. And it really does feel like, even with the goaltending situation, that a lot of the ship has just been steadied right now.
I would agree. I think a lot of the stuff I would say against Sheldon earlier in the year is that he didn't have that feel. And there was many games where I was wondering why he didn't do what he did tonight in terms of jumbling up the lines. There's a lot of teams, especially when they were playing those bad teams, when you're playing those West Coast teams and they looked awful. Like, it's amazing what difference a week makes. Well, like literally a week ago, they lost to the Ducks. We were sitting here having the conversation, but I thought he lacked that feel a lot early in the season. That's part of the reason that I was really kind of doubting him. But tonight he really had the feel and he switched it up, and credit to the players. They performed for him. I don't know if this is too quick to get into this conversation here, but do you want these lines to stick like this for a couple of games? Do you think you have to go with it, or do you think you just go back to what it was before?
You go back to what it was before. Okay. And first of all, the lines have been in a blender all season long. So
except 4 guys.
Yeah, but that's sure. The 4 guys have been together.
And the 4 guys are your whole team. So like it's hard to say that they've been in a blender when their 4 guys have played together the entire time.
The rest of the lineup has been mixed up. They just got Liljegren back. It's some semblance of what the blue line is going to look like for a while. I still think that you're going back to what you had before, or some variation of it. You're leaving your top 6 essentially intact, which is like the continuous moves of trying to figure out who's going to get to play those extra winger minutes with Tavares and Nylander. But no, I'm not overreacting to that win because, dude, let's be honest. It wasn't like they played an amazing hockey game tonight. Like, they deserve credit. But even like that, you said it at the beginning of that third period, I went, oh, okay. Like,
here's the law.
They kept it close, but they're going to end up losing this game. And man, you think about it too. They're going to have to play some version of just not themselves for a while, Like, you can just tell they don't trust Shalgren. And
Oh, yeah.
I think like he made a couple of big stops late.
I'd give
He
him
made the
credit. I'd give him credit for standing in there tonight. He only let in one goal. What do they have? Close to 30 shots almost. Like, he made saves that he needed to make. Boy, I think you texted this early in the game, but how many low blocker bullets did they miss through the first 2 periods of that game? Like, they were going low blocker, and it would hit the end boards before he was reacting. But the saves that hit him, he made the saves, and I have to give him credit. But I agree. They're playing a completely different game tonight than they've played basically the rest of the year. Like, they really seem to have trust in Samsonov and no trust in Shalgren, and it shows in their play.
Yeah. Well, guess what, though? Shalgren's biggest save of the night was low blocker.
Yeah.
It was off the rush. It was right there in the third period. He made a low blocker save. Good for him. But yeah, you can tell that he looks a little frantic in the net. He probably feels an immense amount of pressure right now, knowing that this is a team that was just in chaos, and all of a sudden he's going to be thrown in there, and he's the guy that's going to eat a ton of the blame if they lay an egg there. But they didn't do that. They did not. We've seen them do that in the past on back-to-backs, right? Which was just completely.
This is such an easy lay it in, don't care game where no one would be mad at them if they get no effort. So
they didn't play well, and I thought that the Stars were sleepy to start, and I thought the Stars were sleepy to start the third, and to start the second. Actually, just start every period.
Yeah, they were just snoring the whole game, except the 2 absolutely gorgeous goals in the third period. Can we talk about that Marner move? Oh my God.
Let me finish one thought at a time here. I just think with Shalgren that it's going to be a bit of a different team for a little while. And that's why, I don't know. I don't think that you're mixing up your top units. I think that you're kind of sticking with those groups. You're going to change some stuff in the bottom 6. You're going to hope that you get a little bit more of a lift. I'm really happy that the depth guys showed up in this one because they were a little bit of the spark. Like, this game doesn't happen if the bottom 6 plays like the top 6 to start. And again, like, that Malgin line deserves a lot of credit. I think that dude is like sort of cemented a little bit of a run here with the way that he's played against 2 of the biggest opponents in the league that you would have said, hey, what are the games that Malgin doesn't fit in? You would have said probably against the Carolina Hurricanes, who have their shortest defenseman they outline in the broadcast is a guy who's 6'1", and the Boston Bruins.
Mules back there. The size of the guys in their blue line, it's insane. Why didn't the Leafs trade for Brent Burns? They couldn't make something happen? That guy was a perfect fit.
He's nasty. He's somebody.
He's leading. He's leading one of the best teams in the league in minutes. He's 37. The guy's unbelievable. He's from Barrie, Ontario.
Again?
Nothing. It was like nothing. I don't want to look it up. I don't want to look at
salary,
my phone.
right?
But
the Leafs couldn't have done that because
they ate half.
No, I think it was only 25%. So it was like the Leafs couldn't have eaten all that salary. That one was just one that they were out on. I never heard anybody make fake Brent Burns trades. Anyway, I got to give credit to Malgin. I got to give credit to Keefe. I got to give some credit to Shalgren for making the stops that he needed to make. Outside of that, I really don't have too much to say about this game.
I think my biggest positive for me coming out of this game is that you may have found a 4th line that you can give some run to with Camp, Aston Reese, and Malgin. Like, you can go into games now and get a little highlight pack here of is this Malgin dancing around because he was excellent
Malgin
tonight.
Shifts.
Yeah. So I was really impressed with him. And that to me is something that this team's been searching for, right? Is that identity on the 4th and 3rd line. And that to me looks like a real 4th line. Those guys can play like you got the rangy center who's good defensively. Malgin's he's a good offensive player. And you got Zach Aston Reese, who I thought was supposed to like hit. People were like, oh, he hits guys. How many hits does he have this year? I feel like he barely ever hits anyone, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I just haven't noticed it. But I like that's a big storyline for me coming out of that game, is that 4th line together, and they played a bit together last night too, but I like that, and I really think that they can stick with that going forward here. So that's probably my biggest positive coming out of it. I don't know if we can pull this up. It might be hard on the fly here, but Nylander's goal was really nice. But can we just give a shout out to the vintage Freddy Anderson backbreaking softie that happened in this game? Vintage.
This was a bad
absolutely
Freddy goal.
Vintage. Here we go. We're gonna get the highlight here. And hey, they outlined it on the broadcast. He's at the end of a long shift. He's tired as hell. Great play, and then he chips it by Slavin, who's like the best D-man in the league defensively. And then how does that go in? If you're on the bench, you're like, Jesus, of course. Of course he let that one in. He always lets in the one at the worst possible time. Vintage.
That's your Super Bowl. Honestly, this is nothing has made you happier in this game than watching Freddie let in a bad one.
Oh, like at the worst
you were
time.
always a Freddie hater.
They were caving in the Leafs. They were caving the Leafs in. They were dead tired against an AHL goalie. And the puck goes down the other way at the end of the, and he just lets a trickler between the legs. Vintage, just vintage stuff. I'm happy we got to see it.
You gotta say that in a game with the AHL guy who might be a backup in the AHL.
Oh, that's such a backup.
That you give up the backbreaker over the AHL kid. That's a tough look for Freddy Anderson. Yeah. And I wonder if that's one that sticks a little with that group. Like those experiences tend to accumulate a little bit with teams, right? When it comes to who trusts who.
They already know. Last year in the playoffs, last year in the playoffs, like this guy was like a Vesna finalist, and like the biggest thing he didn't show up. He didn't play. He was like a mystery injury, just like in the Leafs thing where they're like, is he on the ice? They don't even talk to the guy. So, anyways,
but I talked to him. So I talked to Freddie Anderson after he left Toronto.
I know,
and he was real sour about how he played through an injury and that the team didn't reward him for it by guaranteeing a spot when he came back, but also the way that his contract went during the offseason, right? I felt a little bit for him with the Carolina thing because he clearly was hurt again and he didn't want to have this hanging over him. But the guys,
they know.
Yeah, the guy's in a tough spot with his career, and with that blue line in front of you and the way that Carolina plays, if he just lets in softies like he has in his career, then it's going to be bad for the script. It's going to be bad for the next contract. I don't think that he's on the list of guys that Leaf fans want in free agency next year. I don't think the reunion. I don't think that the reunion is going to be happening.
Tells me he feels the same way, buddy. No. I think it's a mutual thing.
To me, it's a two things can be true situation with Freddie always. Like the guy got run into the ground while he was playing here. I think that his tenure was better than a lot of Leaf fans recognize. I think that
he was the horse.
I think that he took too much. Yeah, but I also think that he took too much blame for the playoffs, especially that Columbus series. But yeah, it was also time for him to go, and they clearly needed to turn the page. And he was just like, at the end of his tenure with the Leafs, it was very, very broken with him in the team. So, yeah, anyway, I don't have any regrets about the Leafs handling of the Freddie Anderson situation.
I got to a quick shout out because we always crap on him when he's been bad, but I thought Justin Hall's had 2 good games in a row. Made an awesome play on the first goal. I mean, the second goal. No, sorry, first one. Yarncrocs was the first one that got it started, right? Comes down, pinches, takes a big hit to make the play. Puck goes out into the slot, and Yarncroc shoots it in the net. I think that another thing just to praise Keefe here, Ikey's kind of nailed the Brody Hall thing. It seems to me that he's looked a lot more comfortable playing with Brody. I mean, Brody's the best defenseman on the team, right? Like there's no defense.
I was going to say he's the new Muzzin in terms of he's just the fixer where when someone's struggling, you give them Brody. Yeah.
But I think Hall's responded and had a couple really good games against 2 good teams. So that's got to be good for them. You saw the clip last night, right? Of the captain giving him the belt, and they're all fired up.
Corny as hell, though. They gotta get a new thing. Like
what's the ideal thing?
Oh well, the good one was the Raptors championship basketball.
Yes.
Remember when they had the Raptors championship basketball and they were dribbling around? That was a sick one. That was a sick one. I like it when I like a blue collar job hat.
Yeah.
Blue collar job hat, firefighter hat.
Have like a
no one cares.
hard hat. That they do. We get to have it.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Hard hat, firefighter's hat, firefighter's helmet. Like that's a good look for the thing in the room. The championship belt thing. It doesn't. It's played out and it looks lame. It looks childish, and also like, I don't know. There's just something. Yeah, it's just lame. It's just lame. I was gonna say it's immature, but that's too far. That's too far. It's not immature. It's just lame.
But here's the lame thing. There's a big time crossover between guys who love the Leafs and guys who love wrestling. So like the wrestling guys, when they saw that belt, they're horned up, guaranteed. They're like, "Oh, look at that belt! Sick belt! The boys love the belt." So like Dubas loves wrestling, which which
what?
Anyways, let's not get.
I'm not taking shots at wrestling. All right, this is Sportsnet, and they own WWE.
Wrestling is great.
So
great wrestling.
Wrestling, dope. I've gone to I've gone to a bunch of live wrestling events. I went to this one this year, the Monday Night Raw. That one actually kind of stunk. Edge came. That was cool. But other than that, it was a total lame duck show. But I will say this. Watching it regularly, I think it's a bit of a tough look when you hit a certain age. But going to it live, it's the best. It's the closest thing that we have in Canada to like professional soccer, including MLS. That's a shot at MLS and a college.
I will not accept
it is. No, ever since MLS banned all the good fans in Toronto, that they were like, oh, it's too dangerous.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you
don't know what you're talking about. Enough. Enough.
Oh, they little flare. Oh, boo-hoo. They can never show back up. Anyway, so it's really interesting to me. I wanted to kind of talk to you about this, and it's something I'm going to do with Bourne tomorrow on my podcast. Is just simply one thing that I have is like a resolution for doing this show is to not try to have like referendums on whether or not cannot win after every single game, because it's just like that start to the season was horrific. I don't blame some people that picked like really big swings on they can't win or whatever, right? Because like, man, this group has been together for so long and everyone's seen so much of this over and over again. And there's a lot of people who are divided about the state of this team or the upside of this team or whatever the hell they want to say. But I do want to stay a little bit more locked in the moment in these post-game shows and not try to make them about like the big,
whole team,
massive picture
future. That's fair.
I do think that though it would be really, really hard for me to see the Keefe things show up until there's another big slide like they had at the beginning of the season. Like if they have that one, I do think like we all said it, right? These next 5 games were very, very big. It started with the Devils game. It was heading into these opponents, these big opponents. Leafs have played pretty well. I think that the goaltending situation.
The Flyers? Not the Devils. Flyers, mean?
Sorry, Flyers. Yeah. I
Okay.
thought that they were playing the Devils like 20 times tonight with those Carolina jerseys. Like I
thought they were playing 2002 Team Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, those are sweet too. But I don't think that the Sheldon narrative goes away completely on the season, but I do think that it goes away for now. And we're back in a phase where Leafs are going to have like another bad 5-game slump like the one that they had earlier in the season for that to spark up again. I do think that it's been kicked down the road. The Trotz talk is going to die down big time.
He's bought himself a few weeks here before anything else happens again, which is fair. And listen, that's pro sports. I think he understands it. He's coaching in Toronto. He gets what the pressure is of this market, the underperforming of this team. But like, listen, man, I'm not going to apologize for anything I said through those first 10 games. Like just because they went out and had 2 games against Carolina and Boston where they played well, dude, they were awful in all the games they played in. Like it was not an enjoyable product for a lot of games. Guys like I've talked to were like, I can't even watch them play. It was not enjoyable. Yeah. So I don't want people to like the number one thing I see on Twitter with it's like fan shaming me like, oh, these people said that. It's like, yeah, it's called being a fan. You ride the waves. That's what it is. That's the whole thing with watching the team. And they're like shaming people for being down on this team after 6 years of the same stuff. Like it's a tiring team to cheer for sometimes. And I don't blame anybody for saying what they said in those first 10 games, man. It bad.
Is hilarious though that this happened this way, exactly this way. Like if you were doing the script of the season, if you were doing the Leafs script to the year, you would have either done that they started hot against those bad teams and then played really crap against these good teams, or you would have gone, hey, they play horrifically to start the year against a bunch of bad teams. People get pissed, and then they turn the corner against some good teams and starts with a hockey night and a back-to-back, and then Freddy Anderson. Dude, I got to tell you, though, one thing in terms of a bit of takeaways. Leafs do own the Bruins, and we mentioned it a little bit Saturday night. As good as that Bruins team has played, and as much as, whatever, you wouldn't want to face them in a postseason series, like, I do think the Leafs match up well against them. And you saw tonight with even that Carolina team, like, that's the class of the NHL, those 2 teams. That's the class. And I just don't know how you couldn't see that the Leafs, when they're on their game, aren't right there with those groups.
For sure. And that's why the first 10 games are so annoying, because they have this in them. They played so great against the Bruins. That was their best performance of the year, obviously. They played great, awesome 60 minutes. And tonight, not a great performance for a lot of the game, but they found a way to win, and they figured it out when it mattered. You're right. Like, it is an eye-opener when we get down on this team and we talk about it in the day-to-day. Like, they have this in them. But the frustrating part of it is that it doesn't come out all the time. Listen, you're not going to be perfect every night. You're not going to be perfect every night. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a long season. You're going to have dogs. But that Western road trip was a dog. Like, it was more than a dog. It was a hound, bud. It was not a good. It was not a good situation. So it's honestly, quite honestly, like, to peel back the curtain here, it's the perfect sports talk radio team. Really, like, it really is. The way that they play and the way, like, they're underperforming against bad teams and playing well against good teams, like, the way you get to talk about them in absolutes on both sides of it, it's a fascinating team to watch and support. So it's been fun. That was a really fun weekend, man. Impressive. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it was an impressive weekend. I do have one major gripe, though.
Let me have it.
No more Leafs games on Sundays, okay? This is the Lord's Day for football.
I agree.
Me missing Geno Smith win for the Hawks hurts my soul, all right? I had to miss that game, the second half of the entire Seahawks game. I'm choked. Geno Smith. Anyway, this is Leafs talk. I'm not getting into it, but
can I say, though, that for me, as a No Cred Zone lover, I watch No Cred Zone every weekend.
Yeah, I don't really care about what your football takes. You don't watch football. You watch a fantasy sport channel.
But you're right. But for me, this was the perfect day for there to be a Leaf game because there was only 2 in the afternoon window. One of them was a great game, and one of them's an absolute dog.
I know. Yeah.
I don't really care about any of the teams in the afternoon window, so it didn't take away. I was able to give my undivided attention. I didn't even flick back. So, anyways.
Old man me, though. Old man me, big fan.
It should
of 5
be on
o'clock
Sunday.
Starts.
Oh,
no, I'm
really?
just saying 5. Oh, yeah. 5 o'clock. Well, here, you got to think, too. I get done my show at like 11. So by the time I get home and mix in like a workout, a meal, do whatever, get some errands
done. I'm basically getting out of bed by the time your show is done.
Buddy, 5 o'clock start is amazing. It's really good. I'm a huge fan of 5 o'clock start. If they started dropping the puck, like they were like, we're doing 6. 6 would be amazing. I'm so down for 6. Everyone's complaining they won't get home from their work, their jobs. I don't care.
Last thing before we go, were those the Canes reverse retros? Is that the reverse? Yeah. When are the Leafs doing it? Because I see them starting to mix them in. It's got to be soon, right? Maybe Tuesday against Vegas. I don't know when, but you got to mix them in here soon. I'm a Jersey guy. I want to see him on ice.
But also, you got to figure that they do that in a home game. So
yeah, Tuesday they play against the Vegas Golden Knights at home.
Yeah. So maybe they do it then.
Yeah.
I'd like the Leafs reverse.
Yes,
retros?
I do. I really do. I want to see. Here's the thing. It's impossible to tell until you see him on ice. Ice is the number one thing to me. We thought the Buffalo ones were a little bit too candy ass. Didn't love the white pants. On ice, the Penguins look even better than they did on
Penguins ones are by far the hottest.
And
I won't hear any argument against.
You see the Jets?
Yeah, the Jets was nice.
Looked really nice, sneaky nice.
Yeah, the Jets were nice. The Jets were clean. I just think the Leafs are in a hilarious position with theirs because if they change it too much, no, but hold on. If they change it too much, then people bitch and they go, you don't mess with classic. And then if they do classic, people go, yeah, it looks like a Leafs sweater.
Well, they did the number one abomination was the gray and blue.
I don't want to talk about that.
My zag saying that it was actually good. The worst zag of all time.
That was such a bad zag. I'll never forget when they first put those on the ice. And I texted you like, you sticking with it? You tried to lie for like a period. Anyways, nice weekend for the Leafs.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. Anything else? You done?
All good, buddy.
Yeah, I can't believe we got 20 minutes out of this game. Anyway, good job by them continuing to take away the middle of the ice. Good job by Sheldon Keefe. Good job by the bottom 6 getting involved. Yarncroc snipe. Nice shot by Yarncroc. Yeah. Honestly, didn't know he had that one in him. Didn't know that was in the bag of tricks. That was really, really nice. We're back on Tuesday. It's you and Bourne on Tuesday.
Yeah,
so my
Bourne,
first one off.
you. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do.
And
who's going to lead the show?
You'll be fine.
I know. I talk to Bourne literally 5 hours a day, every day. I think we'll figure it out.
I was going to say, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. That's Tuesday night. Subscribe, review. Still back up on YouTube. And then Friday as well, back up on YouTube. It's just Saturday nights. I've been getting people saying we don't know where to find this thing. It's like it's live on YouTube guys. Every day, but just Saturday. So if you follow this thing, I don't know what else to tell you. Saturday night, it's not on YouTube. It just shows up there once it's already recorded. Thanks to David Siss, our producer. I don't think it was JR tonight. I think it was Armin. So thanks to JR. Yeah, and thanks to the fellows for getting this done. Subscribe, review, leave 5 stars. We'll talk to you after the next game.